We are back for another State of the Franchise episode. And boy, we are on high alert as 49ers fans because obviously we saw the DAP seen around the world yesterday at practice, which got the conversation heated up a little bit about the future of Brandon Aiyuk. And then, of course, we have gotten some insight from Schefter on the DAP, but we've also got Colin Cowherd tweeting things. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about regarding Brandon Aiyuk, but that's not the only thing we're going to talk about today. We're also going to talk about, what I've seen and what we've been hearing from 49ers training camp the past two blocks. And I think we're going to have a nice little jam-packed show today. So State of the Franchise back. Make sure you're tapped in with the Ponte. Make sure you like and subscribe to both channels. And we're going to get into this conversation right now. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now. All right, Jason, how are we feeling over there? We typically start off the State of the Franchise with a quick little vibe check. What's the vibes like over there on the East Coast?
Aiyuk watch day 374. The mood is tense. I've been on some crazy stories before. No, everything's fine, man. It's just really, really hot over here on the East Coast, around like 94, 95 degrees. It's just, and the East Coast, obviously, the East Coast heat is completely different because it's all filled with humidity. So just trying to stay cool and trying to make sure that we stay on top of the news right now with all of this. And it seems like something's going to happen one way or another very soon.
Of course. And to discuss, I have experienced some East Coast humidity as of late, and it is absolutely no joke. It is a different world. So now, like when you say that, I know what you're talking about. It's wild. So speaking about heat, though, we got heat, a little bit of smoke, a little bit of whatever you want to call it, percolating around Brandon Aiyuk. I guess let's get into what's kind of heated things up in regards to that conversation. Now, obviously, in the lead up to this, we know that it's been all quiet on the Brandon Aiyuk front. We've seen Brandon Aiyuk at practice, and he has been there off to the side. He's holding in. It's been confirmed. He's been participating in meetings. He's in the locker room. He's like a normal guy on the squad. He's just not actually practicing. So everything's been cool, calm, and collected. And then obviously yesterday, I feel like this little video kind of really got the whole conversation going and back into the headlines, because you see that DAP from Kyle Shanahan. Everyone's trying to do their best body language. Well, first of all, what was your interpretation of seeing this interaction? Anything, a nothing burger? What was it for you?
Well, the thing is, 49er fans have become body language experts, picking apart everything. And I think, again, this all goes back to the Mac Jones at 3 fiasco, right? And what everyone was saying and what everyone was doing. But if I had to give my uninformed body language expert opinion, there's a smile on John Lynch's face. There's a nice little dap. Same thing with Kyle. Kyle brings them in. I'm choosing to look at this as things are moving positively. And if this was an indication of a trade, this sort of interaction would not happen on the practice field. This sort of interaction would happen behind closed doors with a very somber tone in terms of, thank you for everything. You know, we understand it didn't work out. You wouldn't do this in front of everyone where all the cameras are watching and people are actually looking. So when you look at it in that way, I think it may mean nothing. But if you're going to say that it means something, it's probably positive, because there's no way that you're going to have this sort of interaction in front of everyone. If there was an interaction of Brandon Aiyuk is leaving or he's being traded, that would be behind closed doors and not in front of everybody.
And I agree. And, my interpretation too is like, yeah, that looks like positive body language, right? that doesn't look like, anything, at least from a negative perspective. But we also had Adam Schefter go on the Pat McAfee show this morning and essentially say that, well, everyone's interpreting this body language wrong in the sense of it means a deal is done. That's effectively what he said. Now, it doesn't mean he was saying that you can't interpret this in a positive light. Like, that wasn't like, it does look like a positive interaction. I think that can be true. But again, what Schefter was saying was essentially that doesn't mean a deal's done. If everything that we've heard about this situation, as it's been a challenging negotiation, there was a point in time where there was no communication for a long period of time, majority of the summer, from what we've heard. And obviously, since Brandon Aiyuk has been in the building, I would have to assume conversations are at minimum happening. We don't know how they're progressing. So Adam Schefter comes in. He kind of puts the fire extinguisher on, some of the smoke around a potential deal coming out. And so I think that makes sense, right? Like, okay, yeah, I mean, I could understand it would be great if that's what that indicated, but I also understand that maybe we just don't know, right? We just don't know. And then what has kind of kicked it up into another gear today is from our good friend over at The Volume, Colin Cowherd. He says, keep your eyes out, double eye emojis, and says, for Brandon Aiyuk news, hashtag new deal SF. So how do you interpret this tweet from Cowherd, understanding the context of who Cowherd is and his relationship and ties and how he covers the 49ers, but also understanding he, of course, is plugged in as well. Well, what is your interpretation of this particular tweet?
He's speaking to Mike Silver. Like plain and simple. I mean, if I was wondering right about this, and I probably wouldn't doubt that Colin Cowherd knows someone in the organization, whatever it is, but who does he know better than Mike Silver? And honestly, and I don't want to put fire, or I don't want to put this out, right? Like this, extinguish this. But with the DAP yesterday, with, kind of the way things are flowing, obviously the DJ Moore deal kind of throws another layer on top of this. Anyone right now could tweet, Brandon Aiyuk is close to a deal or could be signed. And you could either be proven right in a day or so, or maybe in a few moments here, or just no one will remember that you weren't right. So This feels a lot like speculation, but also we have to know that his ties to Mike Silver are very serious because they're both on Volume Sports and they both podcast through there. So, but again, anyone could literally tweet right now, look out for a new Brandon Aiyuk deal. If it comes to fruition in a day or two, they can retweet it and say, ha, look, I was right. If it doesn't happen at all and something else changes, no one's going to hold them accountable. So in a way, Colin Cowherd is no better than many people on Twitter in terms of, if I just put this out there now, one, it'll cause a stir, and two, I might end up looking right somehow, right, in this situation. And at the end of the day, you got to realize that no matter the platform, no matter the stature of the person, at the end of the day, everybody wants to be right. And I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, and I think we also have to remember, too, that these situations are extremely fluid. Like, one thing can look one way one day, and then the next day, a lot of things happen where...
Brad, Tristan Wirfs, not close. Next day, extension.
Yeah, right. So, but how I'm trying to interpret it is, we are around that time. So, like, if we look at the history of these deals, right? Like, I think it was Nick Bosa who went the longest. I think it was September 6th. It's either September 6th, September 9th. My dyslexia is working.
Right before week one.
Right before week one, he gets paid. So that would be about a month from now. But he was the longest holdout. Deebo Samuel got paid, I believe, in the last week of July, which obviously we passed. Was Kittle into August? But essentially what I'm trying to say is we're in that time frame of when a holdout deal gets struck in. So to your point, yeah, anything can happen. I think it's just the built up anxiety of fans not knowing what's happening. And that's been the whole case all offseason, right? It started with the rumors with the Jaguars, then it was the Steelers, and then it was some cryptic posts and Aiyuk tweeting directly at Mike Tomlin. And it's just a lot of different messaging and all these things. So I think as we are currently in that time frame of when deals get done, typically, or in that range, of course, it's easy to stoke the fires of speculation around these types of things, right?
Yeah, and we're in an era of educated guesses can appear to be sources.
Yes.
And there's only one of two ways that this can go. There is only one of two, or there's three ways it can go. I apologize. There's three ways. Extension, he plays on the 5th-year option, or he's traded. This isn't somebody like there's only three ways that this can go. So if you're putting out your educated guess, you got a 1 in 3, a 33.3333% chance of getting it right.
Those are pretty good odds.
Yeah, I mean, look, hell, people are sinking down money on a Hall of Fame game tonight. For because the NFL's back. There's probably better odds than you guessing on what's going to happen with the Brandon Aiyuk situation if there was betting odds. So, look, are we any closer to a resolution? I would honestly just say from that video, I'm going to be optimistic and say yes. Now, there's ebbs and flows in negotiations. Sometimes it gets contentious. Sometimes you feel a little bit better about it, right? And I think John Lynch spoke to that, saying we felt like we would have this done a lot earlier. Now it's a little bit further apart. That's what those smiles indicate to me. That's what that DAP indicates to me. It doesn't necessarily mean that something's done, but they're starting to move. Either they have the years and the annual average salary per year put together, and they're just waiting and trying to bang out what the guaranteed money is and trying to figure that part out. I'm sure the DJ Moore deal didn't help in terms of what that looks like, because again, DJ Moore's a fine receiver. Let me just, put that out there, by the way. I love him so much. But Brandon Aiyuk's looking at that number and saying, again, why shouldn't I get that? Or why am I not owed that as well, too? But we obviously know the parameters in terms of, what the 49ers do with him on offense, what the Bears are intending to do with DJ Moore. And DJ Moore had 96 receptions last season. And he's still very young. So, look, I just feel like it's moving in the right direction, but it doesn't feel like, or it shouldn't feel more certain that a deal is imminent, but it does feel like it's going in the right direction. And there's a day off today. So let the speculation run rampant about what they're doing in the building today and how everybody's there and they're talking. So it's just funny how the educated guesses thing can be relayed as sources when really there's only one of three outcomes that can happen. And you have a 33.3333% of getting it right if you threw your opinion out there.
I think both you and I agree, and I would imagine 99.9 of the 49ers fan base agree too, that the outcome that we all want is Brandon Aiyuk gets paid and we put this behind us, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone wants to see him get traded. Mm-mm. And I mean, I'm sure you could, if you wanted to throw that third option into the mix, play on the 50-year deal, I'm sure there are fans that wouldn't be opposed to that. So I would say let's throw that one out the window. If it was between trade or sign, I'm going to go ahead and say the majority of the fan base wants this guy signed, even if maybe you didn't love how this negotiation process went from an optics standpoint. I think we all understand the importance of Brandon Aiyuk, right? Especially when we look at 49ers training camp and you just got Deebo Samuel out there. And of course, Juwan Jennings. Those are two quality wide receivers. But Jason, you've been there at 49ers training camp. Who has been the best player at 49ers camp when you were there?
It's usually Brandon Aiyuk.
It's usually Brandon Aiyuk.
Even when Trey Lance was taking the reps, he was just the guy that was just dominating every single time. And that's not a shot at Trey or anything like that. I'm just saying, it's been something that he's continuing to evolve and grow. And this last season was him growing into the role that I think he believes he should be paid for. And I don't blame him. But again, it all boils down to what the 49ers are willing to pay for how they're willing to use him. And I think that's the crux of this argument. That's the crux of the negotiation in terms of, hey, we love you, man. You're doing a great job, but we're only going to throw the ball to you this much. You're only going to catch the ball this much. Should we really fork over that money? Now, when you look at Brandon Aiyuk, and, obviously there's reception perception data and everything. Funny enough, the 2 games in which he found himself getting open the most was the Christmas Day game against the Baltimore Ravens and the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. So let's put that narrative to bed as well, too. So, and that's against man, right? Like the Ravens and the Chiefs both ran man the entire time against him. He found himself open more in those games than he did in any other game. And the stats don't bear that out, right? But it's just boiling down to what the 49ers are willing to pay for how they're willing to utilize him. And right. I think that's what he's upset about.
Of course. And I think at the end of the day, man, we all know what the ultimate goal is. We know, we've talked about it to death. We've beaten it to death to the point where half the fan base cringes when they hear Quest for 6 because we've been questing.
No, get it out of here.
For 2 decades.
No more Quest for 6. No more Revenge Tour. No more mantras. The mantra should be win the damn thing already. That's the mantra. No more mantras. No more Quest for 6. No more Revenge Tour. No more Revenge Tour 2.0. None of that. Get rid of the mantras and just win the damn thing. My God.
I agree. The reason why I'm completely over the Quest for 6 thing, I get it. It's reminiscent for some fans, so I totally understand. But it's like questing, like, indicates you're on the hunt. You're searching. You're looking. We know where it is. We know the path. We got the roadmap. We've been down that road. We just gotten a flat tire along the way. We need to keep on all 4, all cylinders go, and just, again, finish it. That's why I'm over the questing thing too. It's like the quest implies that we're looking, we're searching. We're not searching. We have everything at our disposal to get it done. So to your point, we got to take 6. We're not looking, we're not revenge. It's take what's yours. And that's obviously got to be something that's felt within internally. And I think we all agree that is the case. Like, these guys have been to the mountaintop or close to the mountaintop so many times under John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, and with a core like this that you don't typically see stuck together. So you would have to believe that nothing is going to deter them from being able to get back other than injuries and self-inflicted wounds and maybe the ball bouncing the wrong way. Other than that, this team is completely, barring a couple contracts getting ironed out like we've been talking about, they're ready to go. They're ready to freaking go. So with the whole Brandon Aiyuk thing, I think we all understand it's probably more complicated than, maybe some of us let on. But it's not just Brandon Aiyuk, it's Trent Williams. Trent Williams has to get paid as well. And, you mentioned Tristan Wirfs. Tristan Wirfs just got cashed out. And that's another thing where you're like, do we have the offensive tackle market exploding in front of our eyes at the same time that we just saw the wide receiver market explode? So, hey, man, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't wish to be John Lynch in these types of situations where you have to balance things that fans don't see, right? And that's where the job of being the general manager, making the tough decisions of, do we bite the bullet and pay market rate, or do we bite the bullet and move on? Those are the tough questions that are, and I'm not saying they're going to move on from Trent. Trent is got to be a Niner for life, but it's crazy just how everything's boiled down so far.
I aspire to be Trent Williams. And what I mean by that is making money by sitting in the house. Every single day that a camp report comes out, every single day that is reported that muddy pockets for Brock to work through. And this is very light, right? Every single day, you add another M, you add another M, you add another M. Trent Williams is making money sitting in the crib. And that's crazy. But also, let's not beat around the bush here, Brett. Trent Williams, I've absolutely 100% wants to be the highest paid left tackle, offensive tackle in football. And if you need further proof, let's look back at the last time that we were worried about Trent Williams signing. He literally asked for what was it, $100,000 more than David Bakhtiari to get the deal done. So he was the highest paid. Now look, Trent Williams at his age, I could see why you're like, well, why would you do that? He's still the best in the world. Still the best in the world to this day. Penei Sewell's on his heels. So is Tristan Wirfs. They're on their heels. The difference is the Lions and the Bucks are paying for someone who are going to be the best. But he is the best right now. And Trent Williams played this market perfectly. He saw how the 49ers didn't address the tackle position. He knows what this 49ers offensive line has been spoken about and how they've been viewed. And Trent Williams said, well, you know what? I want to run it back. I also am really good. Pay me. And I want to be paid better than everybody else because I am Mr. Madden 99. I am #1 PFF rated blocker. I am that
You finally
guy.
made it in the top 10 of NFL top 100. If you
100%. Finally.
Wait into that list.
Finally. And every single offensive tackle that plays in the NFL wishes they were Trent Williams or look up to him because he is a unicorn. Trent Williams could go down as the greatest left tackle that's ever played this game, and I would probably vote for him right now. Yeah. Is it ill timing for the 49ers and their situation? Sure. Yeah. But if it is an extension, this could open up more cap space that can be rolled over next season, so there's your positive. But, yeah, the idea and the way that this offensive line is viewed by fans with Trent Williams, think about what that looks like without Trent Williams. And now you really, really start to get nervous. So, yeah, Trent Williams is making himself money by sitting in the crib. And that's crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, you want Trent on your roster. And again, especially when you know what the ultimate goal is. So, obviously, a lot of talk about the contracts and what's going to happen. When's it going to happen? When is the real deadline? The real deadline is week 1, would you say?
For Trent, I would say it's a little bit more realistic for week 1. For Brandon Aiyuk, I would like to see that get done a lot earlier, in my opinion.
Isn't Trent getting fined $50,000 per practice that it cannot be forgiven based on CBA rules?
It can't, but it can.
Yeah.
It can't, but it can.
They just reinvested into the contract.
100%.
So they actually can bump up that and make it that number look a little bit more inflated.
That's a wink thing.
Yeah, we'll take the money that you've been fined and we'll just drop it into the
that's a wink thing. Like, yeah, you were fined all this. Here's some extra money to cover all that just in case.
You got fined, close to $1 million, but we'll just throw that back into.
We'll invest it as a roster bonus, something like that. It's very wink. It's very wink, and it the CBA when this was signed, it was reacting to Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
Who Le'Veon Bell was the only nut job to sit out for an entire year, and it literally cost him the rest of his playing days.
You can make the argument it cost him his career. He was
100%.
He was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. And
100%.
And I heard rumors, and again, just rumors, but apparently the 49ers offered him a pretty substantial contract after that holdout, and he opted to go to the Jets, where he ultimately got benched for Frank Gore. Poetic
Smooth
justice.
Move, pal.
I think not. Speaking of Frank Gore,
shout
out Frank. He's going to be inducted into the 49ers Hall of Fame week 1 against the Jets. Funny enough. So shout out to the Inconvenient Truth legend. He's been out at practice a bunch. Obviously, he's working with the San Francisco 49ers and all those different types of things. So I love that aspect of the Niners. You've seen, obviously, Dante Whitner works at NBC Sports. We've seen Dante Whitner at practice, but you see a bunch of alum around. I think like Keena Turner was out there, and you've seen a bunch of other guys. So it's always cool when you see the alumni come back around and chill out at practice. I think BA was chilling with Frank the other day. So hey, man, I think we're both, at least from what we expect or what we want to happen, is we want both Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams to get paid. I assume that's what you believe is going to happen as well.
For sure. I'm a naturally optimistic person. I am naturally optimistic. I usually think things are going to go the right way. And maybe that's to a fault, especially when you're talking about the 49ers. But in this instance, I am going to remain optimistic. And real quick about Frank Gore, and I'm glad you brought it up. I don't know if anybody watched the Hard Knocks offseason with the Giants. If you watch the first episode, Frank Gore really, really, really wants to be a scout. That's what he really wants, because I believe, what's his name, Shane, right, is the Giants general manager. Joe Shane. Yeah, Joe Shane was the GM that brought him in to the Bills, and he was asking about, what do we do with Saquon? What do you think? And he literally said, look, that's a star player, but I don't know how you can pay him, and I don't know how you can put that together. You got to kind of find out what Daniel and Frank's really smart when it comes to the scouting part. That's why I think the 49ers have him there. So it's pretty cool to see his next step in his career and have the 49ers be a part of that and have him be there. One more thing, Brad, and I think this is a good way to kind of segue, because I feel like everybody is just like kind of sick with the Brandon Aiyuk, and we've made ourselves clear with Aiyuk and Trent what we think is going to happen. Yeah. What's your favorite Frank Gore game? Because mine is the NFC Championship game against the Atlanta Falcons, in which they lead the comeback, but it was largely on the back of Frank. He scores that touchdown to give him the lead. He does the fake dirty bird. That's my favorite Frank Gore moment, and there's plenty to choose from.
Honestly, I can't think of a singular game that actually stands out from a specific moment. But when it comes to Frank, I mean, that dude was your definition of ground and pound, running back. You just run it up the middle. He was going to do amazing things. So speaking of alumni too, Patrick Willis is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this weekend.
And he'll be there for 49er fans that are just saying, I don't understand why I'm going to watch this Hall of Fame game with third stringers. Tune in for Pat.
I got football today. I forgot.
Tonight. I actually have wagers in. I'm that much of a degenerate. I've been waiting. Tyson Badgett is starting for the Chicago Bears. You'll get to see Case Keenum. Dameon Pierce is playing tonight. There's a lot of players that we used to think were going to be really good, but they're just going to end up being second and third stringers. But yeah, Brett, real sicko move. I literally wanted to call myself. I wanted to call that gambling line myself. I was just like, hey man, stop me. Please stop me from doing this right now, man. But yeah.
Who's playing tonight? I don't even know who's playing.
The Bears and Houston. So Case Keenum is going to play for Houston. Badgett's going to start for them.
Okay,
you're going to say no Caleb. You're going to see Rome Udans today too. Like I said, you'll see Dameon Pierce. Demetric Felton's going to play tonight. Lassiter is going to start opposite of Stingley tonight. So they're going to see what they have in Houston. So there's a lot to look forward to. But again, 49er fans, if you don't care about any of that, Patrick Willis will be on your screen tonight, and that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Football is back. Oh, man, we're so close. We are so freaking close to what? So we have 49ers preseason then not that long away, right? 49ers.
I believe the Hall of Fame game is like earlier than everything else. So it depends.
So the 10th. Yeah. So not this upcoming Sunday, but the following Sunday.
Right. So that's why. And if I'm not mistaken,
Saturday,
that's why.
Excuse me, Saturday.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, that's why you don't play Caleb Williams. You can play him in the next two, and then you have the dress rehearsal on the third. Just make sure you get him. Make sure you get your guys in, get your guys out. Don't even worry about it. Obviously, this is going to be a game in which it's a bunch of backups, but football's football, man. And at this point, I'll take whatever I can. It's so funny to hear people complain during the season when like the Thursday night game is like the Washington Commanders against who's a terrible team, the New York Giants or something like that. But then we go through the whole offseason and everybody's just like, man, I wish that there would be any game on right now. So I don't want to hear any complaining when Amazon makes you watch, a terrible team like, I don't know, like again, like the New York Giants against the no, not the Jets. They aren't bad. Whatever. Another team. Like, again, football's football. And we'll take it right now, especially on August 1st.
Yeah, football is football. And it's been fun. It's been fun being at Santa Clara, watching football happen in front of us. Watching the pads come on this week has been a nice change of pace. So what has stood out to you from some of the 49ers coverage that you've seen so far?
That the 49ers defense is really good. And that's without Dre Greenlaw, and there's days without Nick Bosa and without Charvarius Ward. I think the biggest takeaway is, and we talked about this, Brad, is the shift to secondary play. And I think the 49ers are expecting their pass rush to be average to above average this season. But that's okay, because now we can cover on the back end. Essentially, the way that this team was built was from the inside out. Pass rush was saving coverage. Dare I say, Brad Grant, this 49ers team is going to have coverage sacks for their defensive line. It's nowhere near as star-laden as it used to be. Nick Bosa and Javon Hargrave are obviously studs. But now the 49ers are looking at it like, we've seen in big games that our pass rush, we're not going to get calls against holding. It's tough. We have quarterbacks that can get out of the pocket, that can make plays. Let's emphasize coverage. And they've done that not only in free agency, in the draft, bringing in Nick Sorensen as DC, bringing in Brandon Staley, who, by the way, guys, Diamador Lenore called the Kyle Shanahan of defense in terms of smarts. Just want to take a little victory lap on that real quick, because everybody's worried about Brandon Staley as if he's a head coach and as if him being a bad head coach correlates to him not knowing defense. Just real quick. But I think it's a shift to secondary, and I think it's a shift to coverage. And I dare say the defensive line will have coverage sacks going into this season, and that's something the 49ers are not used to.
Yeah, I think that's been one of my favorite developments of training camp as well, is, and everything we know about Brock is he gets the ball out quickly. If that first read's open, he's going. And one of the things that we've seen is he actually does have time to have it be a coverage sack. It's a kind of a double-edged sword, where it's like he has time in the pocket to work through his progressions. He's just working through his progressions, and he's not seeing anything he likes. And then that's typically when I keep saying my timer goes off. You give him 2.5, 3 seconds. 3 seconds is a long time in the NFL from the pocket. So he's been going beyond 3 seconds with the ball in his hands. And so I'm like, all right, that's coverage, because the pocket isn't bad. Like, he's standing in the pocket. There have been multiple occasions where you see him go 1, 2, 3, check down. So he's working through his reads, and I'm just looking at it like, man, this defense is doing really good. Like, there was a play just the other day where it was the same thing. He went through his reads, pocket was clean enough where he's like, all right, I'm going to try to step up and out of the pocket. He goes to step up, and there's Nick Bosa just instantly jumped into the hole. He's right there ready to get him. And it's like, this is a little bit of a different look than I think we've seen, again, like you mentioned, in years past. It's like, the actually O-line has been holding up a little bit better than I've actually anticipated. But the coverage on the back end has been solid. Like, Diamador Lenore, Charvarius Ward, Renardo Green, once those pads came on, he's making plays. And then Isaac Yiadom as well. Looks like he could be a guy. So I've been really, really impressed with the defense. And, guys like D. Winters standing out. Even Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles making plays out there.
DFF 5.
I haven't really seen, much of Campbell. I'm not going to pretend like I'm sitting here watching every rep of Campbell either to be
Devondre.
like, yeah, Devondre, to be like, oh, yeah, I just haven't been watching him all that much. But Fred's making plays all over the field. Jair Brown's getting interceptions. George Odom's getting interceptions. Malik Mustafa's playing well. So the confidence in the defense, I think, is pretty high. And it does feel like when I see Brock holding the ball, that to me is a scheme win, right? Like that to me is like they're in the right position. They're in the right place. They're executing the right technique. And it's challenging the 49ers. It's challenging Brock, who recently voted 28th best quarterback in the league, which I think is not bad by the NFL top 100 standards.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm like, early returns on defense, I think, have been pretty solid.
Yeah, and again, it's really cool to see, right, like this shift towards a different philosophy. And if you try the same things over and over, it'll return, right? But the 49ers defense has a way to improve next season, although they've lost, they lost Chase Young and Eric Armstead, right? And you're filling this in with Malik Collins, Yitzhak Gross-Matos, and Jordan Elliott and Leonard Floyd. It's if they simply just become a little bit better on run defense and the coverage is as mean as it was last season, with improvement from Jair Brown, there's absolutely 100% a way for this 49ers defense to improve, even if there's, for some reason, a step back in offense. So, look, I think with the offense, we're kind of just setting our watch to everything because we're all sitting there thinking, hey, Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams are going to be back, right? And we're just going to run it back with this highly efficient offense, right? But let's just play devil's advocate and say that this offense isn't anywhere near as efficient, right? Like, let's say they don't score 30 a game. They score 25, 26, right? But if this defense is stronger than it was last year, and at points it looked like it was exactly what it was supposed to be. At other points, we were all frustrated. Think back to the second half, or the second quarter of that Minnesota game, with the blitz coverage call and Shanahan having to step in. If this defense could take the emphasis off the offense just a little bit more and do things in the playoffs, because you're not going to get holding calls. You're going to have quarterbacks that are good, cool under pressure, that are going to be moving out of the pocket. Yes, I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes. Yes, I'm talking about other quarterbacks. If the coverage can be as solid as it's been and this run defense can take just a small step, then this defense can offset any possible unforeseen circumstances with the offense and help this 49ers team continue to win games. A la like the way the Chiefs are, right? The Chiefs went from an explosive one-play offense to dink and dunk, move down the field, and our defense got us. Well, the 49ers are going to have to find ways to win games if things aren't working the way that it did before, right? And there's no reason to not think that it will. But what I'm saying is, just in case, this defense could be a feather in the cap in terms of improving and leading this team to certain victories, closing out games a little bit easier, maybe not getting off to slow starts earlier on in games. Those types of things are the things that you should be excited about with the defense. I think I know what this offense is going to be. I do. But I do think that if the defense is able to improve, and it's not going to be really hard on run defense, I think it really just speaks to the 49ers being able to win games in different ways.
Yeah, man, 100%. We got a super chat coming in saying, can you guys explain the new rule about cheat motion? I haven't seen what the rule is. I don't know if you can speak on this.
Yeah, I haven't either. I think a lot of it is, and because I've
was
talked
this
to
a thing that like Mike McDaniel kind of implemented with Tyreek, and then Kyle was kind of messing with it a little bit?
Well,
was it that little out
Kyle
motion?
Kyle had it first, but Mike did it better. Yeah, but Mike did it better because Tyreek's faster. I think because there's a lot of complaints about false starts, right? When the cheat motion happens, are you off on a false start? Like, is this lining up with when the ball snapped? And I think if you slow things down, because I consult for a college team around here, and we were talking about it because I was asking, like, hey, is there any way that we can implement more of this cheat motion, anything in there? And I was showing like film, and he was like, yeah. He goes, but the issue is we played a team, and I watched the film. He's like, doesn't that look like he's offsides? Doesn't that look like that's a false start? I think there's going to be more of an emphasis on that because there is sometimes an unfair advantage of them being able to get off the line and be a little bit faster than they should be, which obviously puts the secondary in a bad spot regardless if you time up the snap perfectly. But now you're getting even a millisecond of an extra step, especially when you're talking about covering Tyreek Hill and some of these other speedy receivers. I think that's what they're trying to push back on. If and again, my opinion on this, and if there is anything about it, I would have to think it's this. Because if it's timed up perfectly, there's no issue. But I think if you slow it down to the millisecond, almost kind of like how we're doing it with Lane Johnson and the way that he kind of gets a little bit of a quick start, I think that's really the crux of what's going on with this.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. If it becomes an unfair advantage at one point, they're going to want to put a stop to it. So, yeah, I personally haven't seen. I think I maybe saw something kind of mentioned, but I didn't look much into it. But obviously, if there's anyone to find a workaround, it's Kyle Shanahan. So, or just create something new. I think when we kind of look at 49ers training camp as well, I think what's been interesting is, we have competitions at multiple spots. It feels like Jordan Mason and Elijah Mitchell are entrenched in a battle. The situation with the offensive line is very intriguing because you had Spencer Burford getting the starts at the beginning, and then Feliciano was kind of floating around. Both have been out of practice since pads have come on. Brendel's kind of been in and out. You have Banks missed practice yesterday. You had Zakel and Barch. So, I mean, when you look at this 49ers offense for the majority of camp, they have probably been down on average like 6+ starters on the offense. And again, we already know Aiyuk and Trent haven't been there, so they're already out. Then you take away Brendel, Banks, Feliciano, and Burford. Those guys get taken out. Christian McCaffrey being in bubble wrap, which I appreciate. We don't need Christian McCaffrey.
And by the way, if Trent Williams was at camp, he wouldn't be practicing.
Exactly. He wouldn't be practicing either. And then same thing with Kittle. Kittle is barely participating in team periods, which again, he doesn't need to, which means what we've seen from the 49ers offense has been effectively Colton McKivitz, Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, and Juwan Jennings. Those have been your top 4 players on your 49ers offense for the majority of these team periods. So I think from like a Brock Purdy standpoint, I think that could help him, like think about it. Like so much is made about Brock and, he's got all these weapons, right? And he's just a product of the system. And okay, well, all throughout training camp, he hasn't had any of that. He hasn't had any of these weapons other than the ones that I've mentioned. And with the revolving door in the offensive line up front, he's also have to like learn these new offensive linemen and how they block and what their tendencies are and how much time he's going to have. So I actually think this is some pretty quality work for Brock. Even again, everyone's going to make a big deal about interceptions because they get presented without context. But once if you really understand how these interceptions have been happening and you see it kind of play out, I think this is actually going to help Brock based on it not being perfect, based on, we know when you get all these guys out here, it's like a machine. It's like a Ferrari and he's at the helm. He's proud. It kind of feels like he's driving, he's driving a Silverado, not, nice Silverado, maybe like a nice 2013 Silverado, got some miles on it, little dings here or there, but it's all right. It's not a Ferrari, but he's still able to move the ball downfield. And you're starting to see a connection start to build with Ricky Pearsall. That was just the first time we saw Ricky in team period with Brock. So I think the context of training camp is we are seeing Brock without the Ferrari, and we're still seeing him make plays. We're still seeing him find open wide receivers and things like that. It's not perfect. Defense is playing well. But all things considered, I think it can help Brock develop as a quarterback.
Invader 94 says, my 2000 Silverado has 269,000 miles and still running strong. So yeah, nice.
It still moves well, like right.
I always say you don't really learn anything about a player of any position, possibly more at quarterback than when things are going right. You learn about them when things aren't perfect. You learn about them when things aren't moving in the right direction or they don't have all their players, right? Like, and I think that's something that if there's any Brock Purdy detractors out there, that's the last straw for them. Oh, I need to see him do this without 4 all pros. I need to see him do this without 5 all pros and everything, right? So and this is a perfect time for this to happen. If this was happening during the season, obviously you don't want that. I mean, it's not what you want. But
right.
Brock being able to operate the offense, still take ownership of what he's doing, and he flat out said, "Hey, this is the time to experiment." Again, this is like all basic training camp stuff, especially when defense and offense are installing. But it is good to see a little bit of adversity. I think again, everything looks good when you're blowing people out 40-10. Right. And you're on easy street and the game's been over. I think what we saw was a little bit of that in the playoffs, obviously 2 comeback victories. But again, when you're going to be a quarterback and you're going to be handsomely rewarded, I think everyone's going to look to you to lift the situation regardless of the circumstances around you. And I think this is good practice right now, not only just because it's practice itself, but again, I don't learn much from quarterbacks when you're rolling teams. I learn about you when things aren't going well, when things aren't perfect. How do you respond? And I think Brock has the perfect makeup for that. You know, when he talks about everything and he says all the same stuff, you know, that we want to hear. So, yeah, I mean, it's good to see, you know, what's going to happen when the pocket gets muddy. What happens when the another team who has the personnel like the Baltimore Ravens to dictate pass rush and press man? How do you react to that? How do you respond to that? I think that's the stuff, the last few questions we need answered. But other than that, when it's going right, it's nearly unstoppable. But again, who are you playing? What's going to happen when the stakes are raised? I think that's the last argument for Brock detractors at this point is, can you do it without all the all pros? And what happens when there's a defense in front of you that is disrupting the timing and flow of your offense? How do you and Kyle Shanahan respond to that?
And that's the beauty of what we've seen of training camp, because that's what we've gotten. And he's done well in spots. He's had some interceptions where you're like, ooh, you know, don't want to throw that one. Good play, you know, by other guys as well on the defense. You know, Jordan came on the show when we had watched practice, and he was talking, like, of course, you know, Jordan, super optimistic, not to be confused with defensive tackle from the Browns. I'll never stop saying that. But you also have to understand, if the defense is making plays in practice, that's a good thing for your team still.
100%.
And
on top of Brock Purdy, you know, trying things out and figuring out the limits of what he can get away with. And he talked about this at length on KMBR. How can I look off red and fit this ball over here? Can I do it in practice? But also, guys, the 49ers defense might be really good. And that's another thing, right? Like, with a lot of playmakers and a lot of really good players, even on days in which it feels like Charvarius Ward isn't practicing, right? And you've got Isaac Yiadom, who's out there now at this point. You know, you're hearing about all these other guys who are kind of depth. I think the 49ers have a good defense. It's very possible, guys. It's very possible.
Okay. I think I just came up with a training camp stat that could actually be somewhat useful. I don't think training camp interceptions are a useful stat at all. But I think to help quantify the interceptions, I would love to see someone chart the percentage of interceptions that come off either would-be sacks or coverage sacks, because I think that tells the story of the interceptions. Because the problem with non-context interception reporting is that, just like last year, half the interceptions that were reported as the sky is falling came after sacks, meaning the play was disrupted in the pocket, it was completely off, and you're coached as a quarterback to throw the ball so your guys can get work. And so that was some of the huge misunderstandings and kind of panic that was created off last year's interceptions, was off the fact that majority of them were sacks. And I never forget one of my favorite ones from last year. He burned into my brain because I also saw how it was discussed. Was Javon Hargrave? You know Javon. If he can beat you on the interior, he can beat you. He did one of those one-step swim, and he's in Brock's face in less than probably a second. Brock literally just went like it was like not a shot put, like a hook in basketball. Mm-hmm. He didn't throw it. He went like this. It was like throwing a grenade out of a trench, and it was a pick six. And all you heard all over, oh, pick six. Should we be concerned? It's like, dude, it was a sack. The play was absolutely dead in the water, and he just literally went and threw it up. That's what it was. And I'm like, this is what we're concerned about.
And to take it a step further, some of the plays that you're seeing in which, there's a little bit of a rollout or like the play is longer, those are sacks. Those are sacks, right?
Yeah.
Like those are
everything we see out of the pocket is either a would-be sack or a coverage sack.
Right. So for anybody, and obviously informed, opinion here with everybody that's here, we have the smartest fans that watch. They let the play go. There's no tackling, especially not tackling the quarterback. So yes, it'll be a sack, but they let the play go, and then they allow the play to continue. And then you'll see, that's when you'll see on the back end, like, oh, wow, he got beat on this coverage play. Yeah, the play's been going on for about 4 or 5 seconds. That's not going to happen in real life, So, all right, I don't want to put, like, the fire extinguisher and be like, oh, any highlight that they're showing at times is something that, you should contextualize as, like, the play was kind of dead in the water. But some of them are, some of them aren't. And again, this is why it's practice. It is practice. It's training camp. It's the same thing as if, let's see, who's a great baseball player? Bobby Witt from the Kansas City Royals hits 087 in spring training. Oh, God, he's not good anymore. So spring training doesn't count, and neither does training camp at all. So I don't want to hear this about, what's going on at training camp. Everything is about installing the offense. If there's a time for you to get it wrong, it's during training camp. And it's almost like if you gave a piano player a sheet of music that they've never viewed ever, right? They've never viewed ever. You expect them to look straight at that and just go through it? Or are they going to stumble through it a little after the first or second time, and then maybe the third time they got it? Like, it's got to be contextualized with, this is what practice is for. Now, if this starts to happen, dress rehearsal, which is where you feel like you're at the right spot right before you get to week one, or if this starts to happen during the season, for sure. But right now, there's no reason for anybody to panic about any sort of mishaps that are going on, based on the fact that right now, there's players that are going to tear up training camp that might not even make the 53. There's players that look like they're breaking out. They might not even end up playing or even getting any playing time. So all of this stuff needs to be looked at as, right now, you just want guys to be healthy, get through the motion, go through the installs. Don't worry about the rest of the stuff. If everything is done properly throughout training camp and you're ready for week one to roll, no problem.
I agree. And so that's what's been kind of fun about watching this particular training camp, is because of the revolving door with the offensive line. And I would say Debo's been the mainstay, like the star outside of Brock Purdy, who
best shape of his life, baby,
gotten every rep and has been, doing the most with those.
Hasn't
reps.
Missed any OTAs or minicamp either. Big thing.
No.
There's certainly a chip on Deebo Samuel's shoulder.
Serious training camp for Deebo Samuel. He is not taking this lightly, and I respect the hell out of him for attacking it that way, because he doesn't have to. He probably could say, hey, Kyle, feeling a little tired. Let me get one of those vet days. Nah, he's pulling the Kyle Juszczyk. Never got a vet day in 15 years, other than the first one that Kyle got. I don't know how long Kyle's been in the league. It was like 8 years, but I guess Kyle Juszczyk got his first vet day this week. So, but Deebo Samuel is not taking that route. He's taking the route of, I'm getting work. And I think it's going to benefit Deebo Samuel, because I think Deebo's also building up that callus. Like we've talked about that before. One of the good things that practice provides is those reps build up calluses in your joints. Like it, not like literal calluses, but in the sense of your body is used to a certain level of extreme activity. And the more you do it, the more your body adapts to it. Does that make sense? So that
100%.
you're in this mode of your body's like, this is now normal for me. And I'm not just trying to get up to the highest level just for game days. My body's already there because I've been doing it all of practice. So chat's wild and love it. Love you
I
guys.
love it. Let's keep it loose, man. Like
Love
I
you
like it, man.
guys.
It's tense around these parts. I think
It is.
it's good for
some
everybody.
comedic relief.
Sense of humor is important. Sense of humor is the ultimate sign of intelligence, and that's what the chat is showing right now.
Yeah, I love it. So I like what I've seen from camp, even though we've had some inconsistencies, but that's to be expected, right? That's why we talk about nuance. That's why we talk about context. That's why we don't approach these practices like these guys need to be perfect, because this is the place to not be perfect. This is the place to work on technique, to work on things, to get your feet under you. And that's what we've seen. And we've seen some guys take some steps forward too.
Brad, Josh Allen threw 3 interceptions in a row at practice. Get him out of here. He's not good, man. He's not good. I wouldn't want him.
That Elmo meme where he's like
in
the hellfire, like
I don't want him. I mean, 3 interceptions in training camp. Who the hell does this guy think he is? I don't want him. Come on. You realize how crazy that sounds? Come on.
Or Ricky Pearsall working a mirror drill for the DBs, and then everyone memeing him.
That was a funny meme. That's a funny meme. I don't see the same.
It's out of context, but it was funny. It was funny.
I don't see it the same way. I feel like he's just working on releases right there. Like, again, it's not about him trying to gain separation. He's working on his releases there. But man, was that meme funny as hell, man. It's so good.
It was a good one, but that thing went crazy. But that's what practice is, right? That's what it all is. So I would say some of the younger guys who have stood out to me, I mean, I think Purdy has stood out. I think Cody Schrader has shown a little bit. Renardo Green, Malik Mustafa. I mean, Jalen Mahoney, even as an undrafted free agent, has looked pretty solid. So I like to. I mean, Tariq Owens won practice. He had he had a nice touchdown down the left side from Allen, contested catch, brought it in. I saw a rep in one-on-ones on the other side. You know how one-on-ones is set up. It's really hard. It's the ultimate ADHD test because you have 3 one-on-one groupings going at one time. So your eyes are bouncing. You're trying to catch O-line, D-line. You're coming back to RBs versus LBs, tight end, safeties, and then you're trying to watch wide receiver, cornerback. So you're bouncing all over the place. So you can't catch them all. But I did see Tariq Owens win a one-on-one rep, and then he had that really nice catch. Like, oh, that's pretty solid. I don't know if that means he's going to make the team or anything.
What do you mean? Hold on. Tariq Owens season loading. Like that's how it works, right? Like you get one highlight and it's that battery charger thing. Yeah, it's
battery charger. We're to the moon. Stonks, baby. Throw up the stock emoji. We're cooking, baby. I
heard Ronnie Bell had a really good day though yesterday. That's really good as well too. That's a good.
I would say he's been solid. He's had a practice or two where he's maybe had a drop or two. But I would say for the most part, when he's targeted, he makes plays. You know, he's solid on contested catch type plays. He's a physical wide receiver. And we already know he fits into the group. So they like what he see. I'm really excited to see what it looks like when Talanoa Hufanga comes back into
sounds
the
like
mix.
for the joint practices against the Saints. It sounds like
and
that's going to be really important.
Practice. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be really important. I think that's the turning point of when training camp starts to matter, when you go against the New Orleans Saints and you're going against an opposing defense and you have to be closer and closer to having your install. That's going to be much more of a telling sign than the 49ers going against themselves right now in training camp. That Saints practice, which is closed, by the way, Brad, officially. Yeah, absolutely closed. So that's done because I was definitely going to make my way out to Irvine just so I could like sit out there and watch. But that is way more important. Those practices, finding out what happens with guys who are competing and also they're installing on defense, that's going to be much more of a indication of where the 49ers are on the offensive side and on the defensive side when they go against the Saints and Derek Carr.
Yeah, no, dang, that's unfortunate
Yeah,
news, man. Dude,
yeah.
I've been seeing all the highlights coming out of Vikings camp because they can film practice.
Yeah.
And I remember
everybody can, but the 49ers.
I remember going to joint practices in 21. Oh, it was a content dream. And
Yeah.
it was like that was Nick Bosa's training camp before his defensive player of the year. And you could see it. Like he was going up against Darisaw, dominating. And I mean, there's one practice. I'm like, dude, this guy's just had 6 sacks. Like he's going insane. Like this is like, and you know what the captions were? DPYO loading with the little battery, bro, to the moon. And
you see it, right?
Yeah, 100%. And but it's so fun because like I know a lot of fans. You had the Brock Purdy hitting Ricky Pearsall for a touchdown yesterday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was the first time that Pearsall and Purdy have been on the field together in team, and they connected 2 times. One on a short out, just put it on him, and Pearsall was able to get the catch. Would have been stopped pretty much right after he got the catch, but it was a completion. It wasn't crazy. And then I didn't see pre-snap where Pearsall was lined up because my eyes on this particular rep were on Bosa versus Jalen Moore because Jalen Moore has actually had a solid practice the last 2.
Oh, wait. That conflicts with everything. And I'm just being funny.
No, I know you.
That conflicts with everything. It's set it all on fire. Jalen Moore and Colin McKibbin today. You're not allowed to say anything somewhat nice about them. So that's pretty interesting that you're saying that because and this is the part, like, and I hate to sound like this, and this is why I don't have super strong takes on what's going on at camp because I can't see.
Right.
But there's a lot of people that are telling you exactly what's going on at camp, and you just haven't seen any of it, and it's strange to me. This guy's having an amazing camp. Word? Is he?
Word.
Really? Is he? How do you know?
Says who? Source.
Says who?
Source?
Says who?
Trust me, bro.
Because one guy is saying, oh, this guy's terrible. One guy's saying, oh, this guy's great. This is what I live for, these training camp conflicting reports. I live for them because they're perfect. And for me, look, I think what I've realized throughout this whole process, because we went like the last 2-3 years, whatever, before, like I haven't been in a while, but
yeah,
everybody sees everything differently.
Yeah, as they should.
Even if there's a way to properly contextualize everything, someone will say, "Oh my God, that lineman got beat." Well, the ball was supposed to be out. The ball was already supposed to be out. He held the ball too long. Or that DB got beat. Well, the play went on for 5 and 6 seconds, right? Like everything has to be contextualized. It's not as all black and white as everything, right? And I think that's the part. Having strong opinions about a training camp and about who's doing well without seeing it is insane because I'll never do it. I can't do it. I cannot do it. Like I just can't. I am hearing that this guy's playing well. I am hearing that this guy's moving well. Even if you don't agree with my assessment and I was there, at least I can say I saw this and this and this and this and this. Until then, I will reserve all my strong opinions for when I get eyes on these certain practices and things like that. And if I don't, then I know that sounds boring, but I'm not going to jump out the window with a hot take that I have no foundation to jump off of.
Well, it's because you have integrity in what you're sharing with your followers, right? Like
right.
you aren't going to like pull the whatever that term is. I can't escaping me yet. Pull the cloth over their faces or whatever. It's like, it's the same process, that if I wasn't at a training camp practice or I wasn't at an OTA or mandatory minicamp, I of course want to share the information with my subscribers and followers, but I'm never going to present it as if it's coming from me and then make a definitive opinion on it. We present it as this is what we're hearing, and you can make your own interpretations off of that.
100%. But the same thing we're doing.
But if I'm eyes on, I'm eyes on. I'm not telling you anything. What anyone else is saying. Like, I'm just going off of my eyes. Now, there are times where, like, Jordan's sitting next to me, you're sitting next to me, Steph's
It's
sitting
good to have
next to me,
it's good to have 3 eyes on things so you can say,
Rohan's
"What
sitting
did you
next
see
to
there?"
me, and I'm
Right, like,
looking
"What did you
down,
see?"
taking a note, and I'm
Right.
like, "Oh crap, I missed that."
What did I
Like,
just see? And we'll say like, "Hey, look, he just got beat here. This was like it was a coverage."
perfect
Like
example.
it's important to have people that you trust though around you.
Exactly, Jordan. We both trust him inherently with his football knowledge. Uh, I miss a Brock Purdy interception to Demetrius Flanagan fouls. I said, "What happened?" He said it was a Jimmy Garoppolo interception.
A Jimmy pick.
And
I heard that too. I spoke to someone else.
I know exactly what that is.
I
I know
spoke to
exactly what
someone
happened.
else that's really near and dear friends to us as well too. That like he wasn't sitting with you guys, and I asked him too about that, and he said, "Man, he threw a Jimmy pick," and I knew exactly what that meant. That
Yeah,
is,
he
and
didn't
that
see the underneath linebacker.
and I'll tell you this: interceptions in training camp don't matter when you're trying things. Not seeing the underneath linebacker, that'll always raise an eyebrow. Always, always, always.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hey, it happens, right? So, the things that hit my timeline, there will be occasion if like I didn't see it, I'll just say, "Oh, Brock Purdy picked by DFF." I won't give any details. I'll just Brock Purdy picked by DFF because I do want the people to know what's happening, but I'm also not going to present it as if Brock Purdy's looking to his left, coverage sack, comes back, throws it right to DFF. I didn't see that, so I'm not going to present it that way. But the things that I have seen, I think there are a lot of positives to take away. And again, like, Brock, my biggest critique of him was a continuation of what we saw last year at camp, just hitting the deep ball with more consistency. And so far in training camp, or early on in training camp, he hadn't really hit. He hadn't hit. He just flat out hadn't hit from the practices that I was at. And then you see him hit a dime to Deebo Samuel for you talk about deep ball. It was a deep ball, and he dropped it right in the bucket. And then you saw another one. He steps up and out of the pocket, hits a nice little touch pass floater, kind of, how he does his little fade throw on the move and drops it right into the bucket to Christian McCaffrey. Those are the things where you're like, you just want to check the boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are the boxes of the things that I want to see, and go down the list and check them off. And so far, Brock has been checking off everything. And two, with Brock, is he going to scramble? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to do that in practice. He did it one play yesterday, and you could even see it was the only option, but he was like jogging. He's just like, no, this play's dead. Just like he doesn't want to scramble, because I don't think that gives the work that they're trying to accomplish, which is playing within structure, playing within the system, and keep pushing the ball downfield.
Right.
We know Brock can move. He reminded everyone
in the game if the play's broken, run.
Yeah.
Run, right?
Exactly.
Like save us. But what you're practicing is not that. You're not practicing that. You're trying to practice that.
Exactly. So far, I would say through the first 2 blocks of practice. First block was no pads. Second block was 3 consecutive padded practices. 49ers will be back at practice tomorrow.
You'll be there.
I'll be there. The things that I'll be looking for is who's available. Honestly, is Feliciano back? Is Brendel in the lineup? Is Banks back? Are we going to see Purdy maybe try some reps at left guard? I'm really interested in that development. Jason, I feel comfortable in Colton McKivitz.
Why are you saying nice things about Colton McKivitz? How dare you?
I do. He got Nick Bosa yesterday in one-on-ones. I seen him get Floyd. The pressures that I've seen in training camp seem more interior pressures. Now, I've seen Jalen Moore. Oh, geez.
Spam
in the chat. You banned. Goodbye.
Hey, if you guys are looking for the Hall of Fame game, why would you get rid of that? Everybody said, look, they're back. That's where you can watch the Hall of Fame game on NFLHDR.com, guys.
Get out of here, man. Get out of here. Don't plug them. Get out of here.
I'm not plugging them. Everybody. I think the
Not
game's
plugging
on.
that.
I think the game's on Channel 4, if I'm not mistaken, NBC. So if you have Peacock, you're fine, right? I mean, how
It's
else are we
on one
watching
of
the
your
Olympics?
14 streaming services. Can we have a conversation about the streaming services? It's getting out of control.
Is it?
Dude, I have Hulu. I have Amazon Prime.
It's on ABC.
I had to break down, and I had to do Netflix so I could watch the Receiver series. Phenomenal, by the way.
Wait, you didn't have Netflix before? You have children.
We were using our relatives' password.
And they got away from that.
And they jacked us. And I was like, oh. But we have Disney Plus, we have Hulu, we have all the streaming services, so we could survive without, we could survive. We got Bluey over there on Disney Plus, like we got Moana. We're good with the kids. Yeah. But I wanted to watch the Netflix series. I also wanted to watch the roast of Tom Brady. So those were the two ones that I got to watch. That's pretty funny. But now it's like I saw there's like a new. I can't remember off the top of my head. I saw something today about there's like a new platform that's going to get a game. So Netflix. It's like, is it Netflix?
Netflix has a Christmas game, if I'm not mistaken.
Bro, you have to have Peacock, Amazon Prime, Hulu, whatever. There's
Peacock, Amazon Prime, Netflix. There's another one, if I'm not mistaken, I'm probably not thinking about. But ESPN obviously does Monday Night Football. I think they're adding one more for another one. But look, for me, it doesn't really affect me because all I do is pay for internet and the streaming services. Now, I think the biggest argument is that it's coming back to the point where you're literally paying for what you paid for when you had cable, when you add all this stuff up. Yeah, but the secret, the secret, Paramount Plus, correct.
More. I'm paying
Paramount
more.
Plus, correct. Also, Paramount Plus has the CBS games.
And Peacock, right?
Peacock already has, we already mentioned that, but Paramount Plus is the other one that I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
The secret is you have a buddy, I pay for this, you pay for this. I'll give you this, you give me that. And everybody just passes around the passwords and everything as well too. But I pay for Hulu, Paramount Plus, Netflix, Prime, HBO Max I have for free because my parents subscribe to HBO and they still have cable. Boomers. But yeah, it is going in a direction where it's like you have to have, almost all these things, man. And good. The only thing that saves me is that I have a way of watching whatever game I want to watch on Sunday, including Red Zone, with my own little crafty way, so I don't have to pay for a Sunday ticket.
Yeah, that's smart. Anything else that we haven't touched on? Camp, anything 49ers related, even not 49ers related, anything else that you want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, I think, again, optimistic that this Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams thing is finally going to, get done eventually. I just think that it's hard to not look at the video that you posted and not think that was somewhat of an optimistic conversation. And again, I'll repeat it for the people that weren't in here. If that was a farewell, that would have been done behind closed doors. It wouldn't have been done for everybody to see. That felt like a very much like, hey, good talk, man. Like we're moving in the right direction. Remember, negotiations are going to get contentious up and down, especially with all these contracts being signed. But eventually it'll get done. I believe that. Just my opinion, again. And if it's wrong, then just, come back and roast me.
Yeah, so I think, as we've worked our way through this whole situation on stream, talked it out, all those things, I would have to say I'm right there in the middle of I think anything can happen. I obviously want Brandon Aiyuk to be here and to be a part of this team for the long term. But again, I just there's just something that's like I just don't know is again what I'm going to bring it back to. So as we move forward, I hope we are doing a stream celebrating Brandon Aiyuk getting paid, celebrating the upcoming season, and being able to get hyped that he's coming back. I don't want to at all step on to this digital platform and have to talk about the opposite of that. But I am currently keeping all options open. I am praying that the optimistic outcome is what we get. But until then, I think just with how we've seen everything play out, I'm not going to feed into one way or the other because I could get burned, and I think of going through this situation.
Did we get real quick before we go? I'm sorry. Did we get to that second super chat?
I believe. Oh, did I skip it?
Yeah,
my bad. Oh, here we go. Right on, kind of right on topic. Aldo says, "What do you think about BA for Judon plus picks?"
Oh baby, I mean, you got to pay Judon too.
Yeah, I think the Patriots. Wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots have that in holster right now.
Look, man. I don't know. I'd be really tempted by this. Matthew Judon being on the other side of Nick Bosa and getting additional compensation.
So then you have Bosa, Floyd, and Judon and Easter. Yeah. I mean, could you imagine that NASCAR package?
Oh man, that's
Judon and YGM on the inside.
That's interesting, man. And
over the guards
and
Bosa and Floyd off the edges.
I'll say this. I don't think the 49ers are going to trade Brandon Aiyuk. But if you do, you have to trade him for a player that can help you now. I don't think draft picks are where it's at right now at this point.
No, I think you need picks in return, but that's not the primary. Like that, you have to get a player.
Right. Like if you were, and man,
keep in mind, Matthew Judon is turning 32 in 14 days.
And do you feel comfortable moving on from Brandon Aiyuk for someone who could be conceived as a rental? Right. So
if it was a younger, higher upside player that
Brian Burns.
Yeah, if we're talking Brian Burns, okay, I can rationalize.
Right.
Judon plus picks, like let's say Judon plus a second. Are we vibing off that? Because is it a mid second? Is it an early second? I would assume.
Well, it'll be an early second. It'll be an early second because the Patriots are really bad.
Because Jacoby Brissett is going in as the starter.
He's the starter.
Yeah, it could be what's his name that they drafted this year?
Drake
May. Eventually. But, is Judon a need?
No. But that's the thing, right? And that's why, and again, these are hypothetical trade scenarios for Brandon Aiyuk, right? Brandon Aiyuk for Devontae Adams. Brandon Aiyuk for Terry McLaurin. But remember, Terry McLaurin doesn't make peanuts. Neither does Devontae Adams. So I don't know, man. It's not like you're getting guys that are just like on rookie deals or something like that. Like you still, and what's the odds that if you do make a move for one of these guys that they're not going to say, yeah, I want to restructure now. So it's tough. I think again, when you look at this scenario, if it didn't happen on draft night, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I've taken trade completely out of my mind. Now, does that mean that it's a absolute 0% chance? No, I'd probably give it like maybe a 3% chance. But it's hard for me to see this being a move when if they wanted to do this, they would have done this on draft time. And I'll go back to this. Unless Brandon Aiyuk becomes an absolute malcontent, somebody who's going to disrupt everything, the 49ers don't give people away. Think about letting Jimmy Garoppolo run at training camp behind everybody when they weren't getting what they wanted for Jimmy Garoppolo. They're not going to give players away. They don't do it. They'll hold on to them until the bitter end, and however that ends. I don't see them changing that right now, especially for a guy under contract and who is so valuable to what you want to do as a Super Bowl contender. I just don't see it. I don't see it.
I'm going to throw another hypothetical at you because I know you're super locked into all NFL wide receivers.
Yes.
So would you do Aiyuk for let's say Amari Cooper straight up?
Amari Cooper wants to get paid.
He got
That's another guy. He got paid. Correct. Okay. So but now you got it.
A $5 million raise, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think technically, and again, don't quote me on this, but my assumption he's at payday is about $25 million, and I think it's the final year of his deal.
I think the world of Amari Cooper as a route runner. I think he is one of the most underrated route runners. My issue with trading Brandon Aiyuk for Amari Cooper is something that can't be weighed by stats, something that can't be weighed by metrics.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Is dog.
Yeah.
100%. Is absolute dog. Like, throw the football over the middle to Amari Cooper, not going to happen. Have him bounce off of a bunch of tackles, not going to happen. It's not his game. Amari Cooper's a fabulous wide receiver. Fabulous.
He's going to beat you off the line of scrimmage.
He has a great release package. I think he's underrated as a route runner. Stacks his receivers, stacks his secondary members perfectly by making great breaks. If the ball's put on him, he looks great. That dog percentage, man. That dog percentage is in the basement. It's got to be in the bottom half of wide receivers. Got to be. And I can't, in good conscience, move on for a great wide receiver in terms of release packages for a guy who's younger, has more of a dog, will block better, and will be more willing to take contact than Amari Cooper. I can't.
I think Amari would find success with us, right? I do agree that you lose something in the run game from him as being a dog in the sense of blocking. Maybe that's something he buys into if he were to come on over here. Who knows? But how old is Amari? He's got to be close to 30 as well, right? He's probably 28, 29. Let me just do a quick.
At least
he's 30.
He's 30. I was about to say, yeah.
He's 30. And if I'm not mistaken, he's on the I believe he's on the final year of his deal. I mean, I could do a quick little SPO Google search to find that information out for you right about now. It does appear that he did the restructure, but he has a void year next year, so that you can get out of a contract. So it's basically a 1-year deal. He's this year. So it's a 1-year rental. It would be like a 1-year rental for Cooper.
Yeah, and he wants to see what Deshaun Watson is, because this is his last chance. This is his last chance. If you're the Cleveland Browns, this is his last. And the thing is, it's sad because the Cleveland Browns don't need Deshaun Watson to be Houston Deshaun Watson. They just need competent baseline play, and he hasn't even been able to deliver that.
Yeah.
So I think Amari right now wants to see what this is going to look like with a full season with Deshaun Watson, and then he'll go back. But again, the Browns don't need him to be Houston Watson. The Browns need him to be baseline and competent, and he has been unable to do that. He in some metrics, Deshaun Watson ranks 36th. Now let's do the math on how many quarterbacks there are. 36. And that means not only are you not starting level caliber in certain metrics, you're in this backup territory. So I think it's smart for Amari Cooper to say, hey, I got to see what this looks like, because you might be cooked, man.
This is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is coming to us from the chat. He says, Silver cannot be coward source. And again, that was a hypothetical that was posed. Silver RT'd an article 3 hours ago as to why there's an impasse between BA and Williams. So interesting. I actually kind of want to see what that is, if it is anything. So let's... Okay, so he looks like he wrote an article that says the title is The San Francisco 49ers Impasses with wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk and left tackle Trent Williams can be tracked back to April when the Detroit Lions reset the market at both positions.
See, so that doesn't sound like an update from now.
No, that sounds like you have to read the article, right?
Right. Like, for me,
get into it.
That little part feels like I'm tracking why they haven't signed right now. I don't think that's an update as to what's going on right now.
Right. Yeah, that's one where I think we have to read that article to be able to.
You pay for the San Francisco Chronicle too. That's why your pockets are broke. Don't blame the streaming services. that San Francisco Chronicles beyond a damn paywall.
I somehow have access to the article. I don't pay for the
I think if
Chronicle.
you look at it through Twitter, sometimes it just allows you.
Yeah, I have the whole article right here in front of me. I mean, obviously it's a long column, so I'm not going to read it here on stream, but yeah, interesting. I don't know, man. That's why I'm saying I'm staying in the middle. I don't know. Could be good, could be bad. Anything's possible. It's the NFL. You never say never. So I don't really know what's going to happen in that situation. So, but I do. I want to just again for S and giggles.
Are you gonna throw another hypothetical?
I'm gonna throw another hypothetical.
Yes, please. Yes, let's do it. I love this.
Okay. Brandon Aiyuk for Terry McLaurin, straight up.
Oh my goodness.
Terry McLaurin, I believe.
You know what you're doing by asking me this.
I do, but again, we are in the same boat here. We are both Terry McLaurin stands, right?
Yeah.
So
he was right there.
He was right there.
He was right there. But hey, let's find out what Jalen Hurd can do. Sorry, Jalen, I didn't mean to catch straight.
So this just to set the context a little bit. Cap hit for Terry this year, $24.1 million. There is a potential out in 2005. The dead cap hit would be around 11 million if they voided the contract after this year. But there's it looks like two years left on the deal. So it's 1 year. It's a 1 year plus a void year. So you could technically get out of it.
What's the age on my guy Terry? Because I can't remember off the top of my head.
Our guy Terry, oh geez, he's 28, 328 days. So September 15th,
he'll be 29.
Our sweet prince will be 29 years old. So he's 3 years older than Aiyuk.
I think obviously there'll be a drop off in run blocking because I think we all agree that Brandon Aiyuk is at the top. Right.
Yes.
In terms of what my concerns are,
right?
Yeah, a little bit. In terms of when you think about this offense and the way that they can still get guys open without straight line speed, and you think about the route runner that Terry McLaurin is, I don't have the concerns that I have with Amari Cooper with Terry McLaurin because he is a dog. He's a dog, and he makes contested catches, and he's great at the point of attack, and he'll play in the middle of the field, and he's put up all these numbers in a horrible Washington system with horrible quarterbacks because that's how good he is.
Right.
This one I go back and forth with more and more because that one, and remember, when you look at receivers, there's no wide receiver drop off like there is running back when you're about to turn 30. And honestly, the running back drop off happens before 30. Players play well into their 30s as wide receivers. How well is going to be the question. This one I struggle with more and more. I struggle with this one more and more because Terry would be an absolute dream fit. He would literally step in and be able to do the same things offensively, and he wouldn't hinder your offense in any way. Because he is tough at the catch point, because he is a great route runner, because he is a contested catch guy, because he does understand the nuances of route running, and I think he is one of the most overlooked receivers. And it's not because I loved him throughout the draft process as you did, Brett.
Right.
I still have to lean Brandon Aiyuk because of the makeup and what the 49ers have asked him to do, how he's literally transitioned into what they want him to be, and how I still feel that there is a ceiling that is not touched yet with Brandon Aiyuk. Now, does that ceiling get met as a 49er? I don't know if the 49ers are going to turn into a pass-first team. I don't know if they're going to throw him more targets. So we may never realize the ceiling. But today, Brandon Aiyuk is a better wide receiver than Terry McLaurin, and it's killing me.
I agree. I think both you and I might have a more difficult time with the hypothetical if Terry McLaurin was 26 years old.
100%.
Yeah. If 100%. He was in the middle of his prime, like BA was, I think we would both you and I, taking our emotions out of it and just simply objectively evaluating this from a skill to skill perspective, you could make the case like, they both bring high level wide receiver play to the table, right?
Yeah.
And we know Terry's a, the thing, remember, was coming out with the Senior Bowl. He's the CEO he was the CEO of that Ohio State wide receiver room that was Paris Campbell and Curtis Samuel. And those were the guys that are getting all the hype, but it was Terry who was, the CEO type. And that has absolutely come to fruition in the NFL. All right, one more quick one.
One more.
Just I'm curious because I do think this one involves contractual context as well. But let's say that the Raiders throw Davante Adams at you. He has his cap hit this year will be $25 million. There's a potential out after this season, but his cap hit jumps to $44 million in 2025 and 2026 when he is 33 and 34 years old. You entertaining that conversation, or are you like, nah?
All right. Brace yourself, 49ers fans. I'm going to say something that maybe some of you are going to disagree with.
Remember, we're talking about a hypothetical situation as well.
And I'm not even getting into what it's going to look like, what he will be. I'm talking about today, on August 1st. Today, Davante Adams is a better wide receiver than Brandon Aiyuk. Today. His release package is unmatched. Think about all the times that you watch receiver and you've watched film and he's running wide open and nobody can get him the ball. He's a
pro. He's a pro.
He's a top 5 wide receiver in this league right now, based on route running and just getting himself open and smarts. Having said that, the age, what you're putting into him right now. Yeah. If you go ahead and you make a move like this, I better see the 49ers raise the trophy. I better see them raise the trophy. Because if you don't, then it looks crazy.
Right.
Like a Davante Adams move has to result in a championship.
It feels like a 1-year move, right? It's like
exactly. No questions asked.
Next year. And then
no questions asked.
Resetting the makeup of your roster once you pay Brock.
100%. Right. So, do you keep the guy that is, again, you've built to be the guy that you want? One of the best run blockers at the position, younger. But today, Davante Adams is a better wide receiver than Brandon Aiyuk. But that doesn't mean that you make that move. And that doesn't mean that that is something, again, if you do that, if you make a move for that, then the 49er fan base should not accept anything other than a Super Bowl championship. Nothing. Not an NFC championship matchup, not a really good season where you lose in an NFC championship. Nothing short of a Super Bowl. That's what you would be telling this fan base. That is exactly what you would need to do to make this be a deal that you feel really good about looking back in hindsight.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I definitely hear you on that. I think I'm still taking Aiyuk based on age and where he's at.
Yeah.
I do think Davante is still that dog at the top of the list. But I think long-term sustainability, rapport already with Brock, and how he fits holistically with this group, I'm going Aiyuk. So, Jason, just to keep track, we just went through 4 hypotheticals. I think each one we've been able to have a conversation about we could see this work. We could, but I think when it was all said and done, I think we went 4 up, 4 picking Aiyuk when it was all said and done. So we just presented 4 hypothetical trades, and Jason and I both feel comfortable with Aiyuk in all 4 of those situations. So we hope the 49ers feel the same way. We hope the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk can come to an agreement and we can put this thing behind us. Then we move on to Trent Williams, do the same thing, and it's time to put one foot in front of the other. As we know, it will be a challenging run, but hey, we know it can happen. Did you just see that update?
Yes. God. I just
know.
drafted him. I just drafted him as Scott Fishbowl. Thinking that I had a wide receiver 4 or 5. Well, I have him as like my wide receiver 4 or 5.
Great value.
Yeah,
No,
of course. Like it was just sitting there, and I stacked him with Will Levis. Oh God, no, DeAndre.
Yeah, so if you don't know what we're talking about, DeAndre Hopkins has no relevance to 49ers news, more fantasy news. He'll miss roughly 4 to 6 weeks with a knee injury. This impacts me because in my home dynasty league that I drafted my startup in 2017,
Calvin Ridley to the moon.
Yeah, he was one of my main guys. Dude, my wide receiver core, to go completely off topic and straight up squirrel, I drafted Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, and Keenan Allen in 2017.
Woo! Yo, 2017, you probably got the best. Yeah, that's my God.
Looked.
Yeah.
That was my stack also in standard leagues, right? Where you just do the 1 year. Those were my guys, and the value all hit in those same spots. 2017 was a good year for me. But now I've traded Julio, I've traded Keenan. DeAndre is the only one that I have left, but I can't trade him because he's not worth anything. No one wants him in Dynasty.
So, no. I mean, if you move him, you're moving him for like a 3rd or 4th rounder, like, or
you're
something
moving
like
him
that.
For nothing.
And you got to move it. You got to move him to a contender. Like, nobody's rebuilding with DeAndre.
No. So I decided about 2 years ago, I played that game. Can I trade him? I was like, nope, I'm not going to get what I want. We're riding till the wheels fall off, and the wheels are falling off. So it is what it is. And guess what? Guess who else I got? So my starting 3 wide receivers in that particular league now are Chris Olave, Brandon Aiyuk, and Terry McLaurin. So I really want this Brandon Aiyuk thing to work out for my dynasty. Dude, I got Aiyuk in probably 75% of my dynasty leagues.
I have him in a lot of leagues too.
I'm in a lot of leagues.
I moved him in a league that I just won, a half-point PPR dynasty league. And this was before everything. I moved him because I have CD and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Debo.
That's a good stack. Well, if you have Debo and Aiyuk, you don't want both.
Yeah. I mean, but I was playing both or whatever. And I also have Chris Godwin. So like I've got like a good stable of receivers. I moved him for Breece Hall in a second. Breece Hall in a second. Yeah. So
not bad.
Yeah.
I moved in the startup. I moved Tank Dell. What did I move him for? Oh, I went Tank Dell and like pick 110 to jump up to 2 overall to take Jaden Daniels because I desperately needed a quarterback. And I had hella wide receivers where Tank Dell was the last option in my flex. So I bit the bullet. I love Tank. Tank's great.
Me too. Right? And he was the value. I was getting him at the back of like the second or like top of the third.
There were leagues where I got Tank Dell in the 4th round.
You threw the headphone. Yeah.
Stupid thing. So yeah. But anyways, good stream today. I mean, shoot, 140 probably could keep going for another hour 40. So I think we made it abundantly clear how we feel on every situation that is pertinent to the San Francisco 49ers. We had a good conversation about how we're looking at training camp, how we're looking at hypothetical situations. I think we covered this thing pretty well on today's stream. Gave you guys multiple different perspectives on the situation and how it's all playing out. Now it's just wait and see, right? And it's been that all summer. Once we got through the draft, is wait and see. So we remain waiting and seeing what is going to happen. You cooking up anything on Niners Nation? Anything else? Any other streams? What you got cooking the rest of the week?
Sprint Red Options back. So if you guys are looking, me and Andrew just did our first show in a long time. So you check that out. You know, guys, if you're interested, subscribe to the channel. Just leave a like. That really helps out a lot for what we're trying to do. Yeah, Niners Nation every day. Today, didn't really have anything to write about. I didn't really find anything from Nick Sorensen's press conference that I felt was like newsworthy or anything like that. But side note, Niners Nation editor Kyle Posey will be on the sidelines at practice tomorrow. So there's another good perspective for anybody who's looking for.
Yeah, Kyle's great.
Yeah,
he's
Kyle
really
knows,
good at DB stuff too.
Yeah,
I love
Kyle
his
knows ball,
DB
man.
work.
Yeah, Kyle knows ball. But then, yeah, so probably most likely tomorrow, more on Niners Nation. I'll put something up there, and possibly Sprint Right Option tomorrow, reviewing everything that happened with training camp and what we've been hearing. But yeah, a like and a subscribe would really help, guys.
Yeah, make sure you head over to Jason Aponte's channel. We're doing a dual stream. Like his video, sub to his channel, does a ton of great content and writes a ton of great content for Niners Nation as well. So make sure you tapped in over there. I will be back at training camp tomorrow. Honestly, today was a nice little break. It's a grind. You know how it goes.
Oh, yeah.
But so we'll be back tomorrow talking all things 49ers practice. I don't know if it will be padded. I kind of feel like it will be non-padded, which isn't always the funnest practices, but you still get some work. And we'll talk about everything that's going down. And we get a super chat at the buzzer. See, they know how to keep us on. You throw a super chat at the buzzer, that keeps us going. Vicey says, I'd rather have Kyle and be a great team that always has entertaining season, but always loses a Super Bowl rather than a bad team that does poorly and gets lucky with a Super Bowl.
So
that's a take that I honestly would think would be the opposite for most fans.
Well, all right. I would pose this to fans, and I look, and I think I know the answer because we're so starved for a Super Bowl. Right?
True.
Would you rather be a team that if someone told you you're going to get a Super Bowl this year, but you're not going to compete for 9, 10, 12 years, like not even be in the conversation, not even be anywhere near close, or you can be a team that will be completely in it every single year and you may win it? Would you take the guaranteed championship with the 10 to 12 years of not competing, or be consistently in it with a chance to win it and there's no guarantee that you will? I think that is the interesting question.
So I know where I go with this.
Yeah.
As starved as I am for a Super Bowl, again, we've spoken about it so many times on this channel. I'm 35 years old. The last time they won a Super Bowl, I was 4, 5, 6 years old. So doesn't even register for me. So I speak about the 49ers as if I've never seen a Super Bowl. I don't know what it's like. We've been there. I've seen Super Bowl losses. I know what that feels like. That's where I'm defined as that particular portion of the timeline of the fan base. But I would honestly say I would take, if you say I have a chance, and so you're saying there's a chance. If you're saying there's a chance, I'm honestly going with that being good and having a chance every time, even though it's not guaranteed it's going to happen. I think I would take my chances with that.
And isn't part of the fun not knowing, and going through it? Like, what's the fun in a genie coming down and saying you're going to win it this year, and you're just watching the games like, yay, they won, yay,
49ers football would be worthless to pay attention to for the next 10 years, and that doesn't sound like fun to me.
Well, and the other thing is the journey is what is, it's like when you're sitting there on edge in the Super Bowl and your team pulls it out at the end, and then you get that blast of ecstasy, whatever, pause, like as opposed to just like the genie comes down and tells you, yeah, you know what, man, don't even watch the season, just go, just pull up, and when you turn on the Super Bowl, you guys are gonna win. I'd be like, that's kind of boring, like that whole feeling of like sitting and watching and your stomach in knots and your heart racing, and when your team finishes the job, shouldn't that be a part of that? Like, it's gonna be boring.
I think the best game I've probably ever been to was the divisional round playoff this past year against the Packers because of the roller coaster, because of how it happened, how it finished, the interception on Love on the final drive when they had a chance to come back, and you get Dre Greenlaw sealing that pick. Man, that feeling of just uncertainty, the uncertainty leading up to that point, and then feeling that moment of like, just like, I lost it. I'm normally pretty even keel at games. I lost it. The whole stadium just lost it. The ground underneath my feet was shaking when Dre Greenlaw got that pick. Like, you don't have that feeling if you know you're going to win it and then be terrible for the next 10 years. Like, to me, that doesn't sound like fun. I definitely understand if you want the Super Bowl because we've been starved for it.
And you get it done, right? Like, I mean, that's fine. And you know what else, too? I will say this. Winning a Super Bowl buys you time, right?
It does.
Like, I see
the
right. I see you guys arguing with the Rams fan, right? Like with Jim. Shout out to Jim, man. Like as much as he talks crazy, that's my guy. Like, he's still cool. But every time you're like, ha ha ha, we own you, we won, we beat, and they're like, yeah, we won a Super Bowl like 2-3 years ago. Now, how long does that lease buy you? I don't know, but I'd like to know that feeling as well too. Like, yeah, you know what? My team's not going to compete this year. Everybody's injured, but 2 years ago we won the bowl. So I think that's kind of like, again, like, you buy yourself grace with a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think we'd care a lot less about the Aiyuk and Trent situation with the Super Bowl under our belt. I think there'd be a lot less stress.
But I don't want my team to be trash.
Right.
I've been through that. I've literally been through that. I've seen that. I don't want to go back to that.
Imagine 10 seasons of Jim Tom
Sula or Sean Hill. Sean Hill and Ken Dorsey. I don't want that again at all. Right, like, it hurts to get there and lose, but you still have a chance. I'd rather be consistently great with a chance. And in 10 years, one of those years you got to break down the door, right? Right?
Yeah, seriously.
Right?
Seriously, right? Like, last year was fun as hell. It ended in insanely painful fashion, but it was still fun as hell. Like, hella fun. Whooping the brakes off the Cowboys.
That's fun. Beating the hell out of the Eagles.
Wearing all black to the Eagles and just destroying them in their own home. Like, we had a lot of fun last year. Like, it was a fun season. Like, understanding what Brock really was, and like, it was a great year. It didn't end how we wanted it to, but the whole premise for me to pick the second option that you posed was, as long as there's a chance,
right?
I'm taking the chance every time.
You'll always be in the mix. Like, this isn't just like you're gonna, no, you're always gonna be in that mix. NFC Championship, Super Bowl, you're always gonna be in that mix.
Yeah, I'm taking a chance every time.
You know how hard it is to sustain what the 49ers have done right now? Like, let alone over 10 years? Like, I think that's the thing that I'll take, is consistently having a shot. Now, does that mean I'll consistently have my heart ripped out? Maybe.
Potentially.
Potentially. But if I could quote Game of Thrones, what's dead can never die. And I don't feel anything anymore. I'm dead on the inside. I feel nothing. You can't hurt me anymore. It's almost like when you have heartbreak with a relationship. It sucks. You go through it. But it's almost like nothing like that can ever hurt me again, because I already been through it and I overcame it. Here I am standing today. I haven't drank myself into oblivion.
Oh, I love it, man. No, this was a good episode. I think we talked about a lot of different things. We had some fun with some hypotheticals. Shout out for the super chat on the way out. Kept us going a little bit longer. That $10 super chat, I think, bought 10 minutes of us talking a little bit more. That's pretty good bang for your buck right there, especially if you're loving the show.
Now what? What is that?
It's Pretty Ricky.
He's about to press the button.
He's about to press the button. Push a button.
Oh, baby.
Rush Hour reference. So,
oh man.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Like I said, I'm straight down the middle. Whatever happens, happens.
Oh God, man! I just wanted to get back to watching the new Batman cartoon that came out. I don't need to be. I'm not trying to jump back on here now and do this again in a little bit.
Yep.
Can I just watch the Hall of Fame game and bet in peace?
Dude, seriously. Like, can we just vibe? Can we have our day off and then get back to practice? Just talk about practice. Like
Batman drops on a day in which the Yankees aren't playing and there's no practice. Like, it's perfect. Like, I'm about to run through all 10 of these episodes. I don't need this. I don't need this. Pretty Ricky, you take your button and you put it away. I don't want to hear it.
Stop tweeting, Pretty Ricky.
Stop tweeting, man. Someone report him.
Bro, his account already got canned. He came back with a vengeance. But hey, man, so I don't think we're out the weeds yet. Obviously, we have optimism around BA, but again, like I've said, I'm taking the stance of I'm prepared for everything. Praying. What's the saying?
Hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
There you go. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with it. So we'll see what happens. And hey, guess what? If something happens, you're going live, writing about it, making videos. I'm going live. We're making videos.
I don't wanna, man. I just want to watch Batman and then put on the Hall of Fame game. Damn it. I'm just a simple man. My God.
Oh, we're all just simple men, really. But let's get this one wrapped up. And again, I'm going to be looking at Twitter all day. It's just how it is. It's just how it's going to go. But appreciate everyone for tapping into this stream. I know you guys are in the same boat as us, just waiting to see what is going to happen. And all you can do is just wait. So I think that's a good way to end it today. Would you say, Jason?
Yeah, 100%. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Don't allow this to consume you. As I stated, I'm going to sit here while I'm just like scrolling and just making sure that like I'm just going to be like looking. But I'll say this. That Aiyuk contract extension tweet from Woj, I was going to say, from Rappaport or Schefter is going to hit like a McDonald's Sprite. So that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm sticking with.
There you go. A little spicy. A little sweet, a little spice.
Yeah, a lot of carbonation.
A lot of carbonation. All right, guys. That's it for the state of the franchise today. I think we did a good job of covering the current state of the 49ers franchise. And if anything drops, both Jason and I will have it up. So appreciate everyone for tapping in today. Make sure you like up both streams. Head over to Jason's channel. Give him a sub and a like. Again, like both as well. You better. And we'll be back next week probably for State of the Franchise because, a week is a long time for this team and a lot can change. In that
a week is a year.
A week is a year. The 49ers give us a ton of content in just 1 week's time. So we always got something to talk about. So that's it for us today. And yeah, we'll see. But I appreciate you all. We're out of here for now. Peace. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now.